Hello and welcome to all of you. You're watching Tech 24, France 24's Tech Show. And as we celebrate the 30th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, we wanted to take a look at the current online surveillance strategies and the state of our privacy. This, as a new report by the NGO Freedom House, shows that 89% of all social media users are being monitored by governments throughout the world. And in Test 24, we try Repaper by the French startup ISKN, a graphic tablet that will make any of your sketches come to life digitally. Senators in the U.S. Congress have asked the acting director of national intelligence to investigate whether the widely popular video sharing app TikTok is a national security threat. The Beijing-based video streaming platform is standing accused of spying on its users and of sharing their data. Kathy Clifford has the story.
A simple video sharing app, TikTok has American teenagers hooked. But it's now being targeted by US authorities, in particular its parent company, China's ByteDance. A federal agency opened a national security investigation into the sale of the platform to the group, a takeover which took place 2 years ago. They're looking to find out if TikTok transferred its users' data to the Chinese government for spying purposes, which Senator Marco Rubio is convinced of.
If you have teenagers, I can almost guarantee you that they are on TikTok. I was too, briefly. Catchy videos, but they are collecting personal data on your teens for China, and they are stealing money through copyright theft.
TikTok has since issued a statement. It says it stores all US user data on servers within the United States. The company wrote, "We're not influenced by any foreign government, including the Chinese government. TikTok doesn't operate in China, nor do we have any intention of doing so in the future." But an investigation by The Guardian cast doubt on the statement. The UK newspaper claims that ByteDance asked TikTok moderators to censor videos criticizing the Chinese government. The app is racking up legal setbacks around the world. In February, it was hit with a record fine of €5 million in the US for collecting data from users of under 13 years old. And India has banned users from downloading the app, accusing it of encouraging the spread of pornographic content. The legal battle around TikTok comes amid the US-China trade war. Accused of spying, telecom giant Huawei has been heavily sanctioned by US authorities.
Social media platforms were once seen as a liberating technology, but they're now increasingly perceived as a vector for surveillance and electoral manipulation. Well, to talk more about it, I'm joined by our in-house expert, Dan and Jay Kadalkar. Hello, Dan. It's a pleasure to have you. So a good example of surveillance strategies that are being used against individuals today are the tools that are developed by a group called the NSO Group. The Facebook-owned WhatsApp has decided to sue this firm. Why is that?
Well, around 1,400 WhatsApp users were believed to have been targeted through a spyware a few months ago. 100 of those users were lawyers, journalists, human rights activists, and diplomats. Now, WhatsApp has attributed this attack to the NSO Group and has filed a complaint against the NSO Group in a federal court. But NSO Group, on its part, has disputed this claim.
It's also important to say that this was a huge publicity stunt for Facebook that's accused of somewhat of the same problems. Now, let's talk about the latest report by the NGO Freedom House. It actually highlights a crisis of social media. Could you tell us about the salient points of this report?
Well, the report is titled Freedom on the Net 2019, and it's an exhaustive report that deals with various aspects and impacts, as well as uses of social media in elections and also for surveillance. Now, in this report, just to give some examples, there's a chapter on how politicians and hyper-partisans are using social media to manipulate elections. There's another chapter on how some countries have instituted advanced surveillance programs to monitor the behavior of their citizens. And at the same time, the report also talks about the need to fix social media in order to protect internet freedom. It has also made certain recommendations to protect internet freedom and to secure elections.
And let's talk now about elections. One way to curb targeted influence is to ban political ads during elections, and not everyone has decided to do that.
Well, Twitter has taken the first step. It has decided to ban political ads from next month. In fact, the CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, has said that the political message reach should not be bought. Now, the issue of political ads is contentious because it is closely associated with spreading misinformation. Now, Twitter's decision, interestingly, has put pressure on Facebook to follow suit and perhaps change its policy vis-a-vis the political ads. As we all know, Facebook has been defending its stance on allowing political ads on its platform.
Thank you very much, Dhananjay Kalkar there. Now, speaking of tracking misinformation, the advocacy group Avaz is confirming exactly what Dhananjay said. It has found an increase in fake political news shared on Facebook ahead of the 2020 U.S. presidential elections. Well, for more on this, let's now welcome Fadi Quran, the campaign director at Avaz. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure to be on the show.
So tell us, how did you conduct your research and what are some of the conclusions that you draw?
So the way we conducted the research for this report was that we went to all of the credible fact-checking websites that are working in the US and that are working with Facebook, in fact. And we went through all of the fake news stories that they had already flagged and put out corrections for. And then, based on the results we found, we chose the top 100 most viral fake news stories, most viral pieces of disinformation content. And we used a measurement based on the interactions, how many people liked, shared, and clicked on those pieces of information, those viral videos, to do an estimate of how far just these top 100 pieces of fake news had reached, how many people had seen them. And what we found was that there was a tsunami of disinformation already happening across the US with over 158 million views of this disinformation content. And that's huge. Just in comparison, the voting population in the US is about 150 million. The Democratic and Republican main pages on Facebook, they haven't reached half as many users on the platform. And what this means is that, and I think the most important point here, is that these stories and the surge of fake news a year before the actual 2020 elections in the US is comparable and even higher with the spread of disinformation a few months before the 2016 US elections. And this means that we're going to have another titanic disaster if Facebook does not act to quell this problem.
Now, precisely, Fadi, do you think Facebook and other online media platforms are doing what it takes today to stop the spread of misinformation?
I've met with many different people working at Facebook, and although many of them are working hard to fix the problem of disinformation, there are solutions such as correcting the record, such as being transparent, just notifying users when they've been victimized by disinformation, that Facebook could implement tomorrow and yet has not implemented. And so what I would say is that so far the steps that Facebook has taken are commended, but they're not enough. Much more needs to be done. And there are simple steps that Facebook knows will quell the spread of disinformation that it has not taken yet. And I think the question for all of us, and particularly the question for those of us who care about democracy and those of us who are in policymaking positions, is how do we put pressure on Facebook, and particularly on Facebook's leadership, Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg, to do everything that they can do to stop disinformation? Because until they correct the record, and hopefully they will do that soon, but until they do that, all the other steps can be seen as more PR steps than actual steps to solve this problem.
Fadi Quran, campaign director at Avaz, thank you very much indeed for that. And we're going to move on now to Test 24. tech device we have on set this week has achieved the incredible task of combining the pleasure of drawing on paper with the power of a digital tool. It's called Repaper, and I don't know for you, Dan, but it has won me over.
Well, yes, I've had the same experience. So let's start with a little demo. Here I have a sheet of paper that's attached to the tablet. Now I'm going to start drawing on this paper. I'm just going to draw a simple right angle triangle. That's the best I could do. There's X, Y, and Z, and I might as well write the Pythagoras formula. So here you can see whatever I'm drawing here is appearing on the screen.
Right.
And this happens in real time. It can be digitized the moment you draw. You can save it, either save it on the computer or a tablet, or you can save it locally on this tablet. So you can carry this tablet around. You don't need it to attach to any device. You can keep drawing, and later you can transfer all these drawings to the device of your choice. The technology used here is called magnetometry. So as you can see on this pencil, there's a special magnet. There are 25 magnetometers in the tablet, and these magnetometers track the movement of the magnet on this pencil.
And the pressure as well.
And the pressure as well in 3 dimensions, X, Y, and Z. And the pressure, there are 8,192 pressure points that enables a precision, or rather precise digitization of whatever you're drawing on this piece of paper. And the pressure points also allow you to, or rather they make it more precise, because if you exert more pressure, then your lines will be thicker, it will be darker, and that's reflected in the digital avatar of whatever you're creating.
Right. Is it available yet?
It is available, and it costs rather 249 euros.
Thank you very much, Dan and Jay Kattlecar there. That brings us to the end of this week's edition of Tech 24, but you can watch it again on our website, france24.com. See you soon.